Hello, friend. My name is Asindra, and today I'm going to continue and possibly finish Autumn's Journey for you by Apple Cider. I say possibly finish because it seems like we are headed towards an ending of sorts, as we just finished the big boss battle and we returned the remains to the Earth, and we are returning to Barry, and we were just about to learn why Aurelie is afraid of earthquakes. Oops, that's not the right button. That's the wrong button. I want to return to... Nope. Come on, let me do the thing. Okay. Menu. Yes. Let's load this one. Here we go. Okay, now we're going to learn about Aurelie's past, possibly. Or at least something. So, it's alright. It's not usually brought up since it's rare for me to get caught in earthquakes or tremors. I ummed and hmmed until I figured out a good beginning point. It started when I was younger. My family lived in Oliver. I would follow my mom everywhere when she did her patrols or visited different places. And now that I think about it, although some parts were still hazy, I recalled being thrilled because I was going somewhere that had a lot of knights. Their brilliant armor, their beautiful shining blades, and how I dragged this wooden sword around awkwardly. It was at the academy. It was being expanded upon, and some parts were in the middle of renovation. I ran off somewhere. I think I wanted to find the armor room or something. Anyway, that's when the earthquake hit. I don't remember much, just everything seemed to collapse around me. After that, I couldn't ride in carriages or even enter large buildings without crying. Mom decided it was better for us to move away from Oliver and the memories associated with it. It took a long time, but eventually I got over certain fears. I focused on my knight training, hoping to be stronger. Of course, my mom wouldn't send me to the academy. She's always been averse to knight academies for other reasons, but my well-being definitely was one of them. Wow, this is the first time I've ever told people this story. Aren't you too lucky? No, I really appreciate it. I'm glad you trust us enough to tell us. As an earth dragon, though, I can't stand for it. What? He gave a wry grin. You got over some fears. If you like, I can help you get over this earthquake one. No, that won't be necessary. You sure? I'm certain if I delivered small tremors, your body will eventually get used to it. Think of it as a cure. That's terrible. That won't help me at all. What would you call that torment anyway? There was an awkward pause before Ilmari spoke up. Shock treatment? I groaned and shook my head, yet I couldn't help but chuckle at his feeble pun. Congratulations, Omari. You have mastered heavenkind humor and everything there is to know about our culture. There is nothing more to teach you. Kerr glanced between us quizzically as if determined to figure out the pattern. I don't know. I felt the delivery was a little... rocky? Ilmari burst out laughing. I could only gawk at Kerr, who seemed pleased at his own joke. I made a cross with my arms. Banning this, banning puns. As we pestered each other relentlessly, I slumped down and glanced up at the sky, wondering when these interactions had become second nature and routine. And it was all coming to an end. Not that we could help it. They had amends to make for running away. And now that we'd uncovered something rather unsettling, they had to return and report to their masters. Once we reached Barry, the driver was kind enough to stop in front of my family's home. I eagerly hopped out of the wagon. It was evening, and I could see light from within my house. Excuse me. I barely touched the doorknob when the entrance flew open and my mother hugged me tightly. Mom. For a moment, I couldn't breathe because she embraced me so tightly. When she finally let go, she grabbed my shoulders and examined me. You're home! Congratulations on saving the world! Mom, I didn't do anything that amazing. Did you become a knight? Are you happy? Yeah, I'm glad I went. She hugged me a second time. That's what a mother really wants to hear. She glanced up. Come in. We're going to have dinner ready in a bit. You're probably all starving. Your dad's currently preparing some warm apple cider. Nice, I haven't had that since last year. After Mom ushered us in, she disappeared around the corner while I pulled up a seat at the table. Kerr even joined us this time. What's apple cider? It's a sweet liquid. Tastes like, well, apple tarts. He stood up and slammed both palms on the table. I went through this whole journey without knowing such a thing exists. He looked as though his best friends had betrayed him. Surprise? Not deterred, Kerr decided to see how my dad prepared dinner and vanished as well. I hope my dad isn't making the alcoholic cider. Alcohol? It's something you add to drinks, and it makes people silly and giddy. Will we be able to partake? And I crossed my arms and shook my head fervently. That was a disaster waiting to happen. Oh no, that's banned. I'm not dealing with drunk dragons. Ilmari looked completely baffled, but inquired no further thanks to my unwavering expression. Regular cider will suffice, I promise. We had a festive meal along with a toast to our journey and the bonds it had forged. We excitedly told our stories, careful to avoid the more sensitive discoveries, as we did not want to cause unnecessary concern. My sides had never hurt so much from laughing before, and my mouth ached from grinning all the time. However, each sip of cider seemed to lose its sweetness whenever I thought about tomorrow. Right, they would leave in the morning. When dinner was concluded, I urged my friends to get some fresh air, since I would help with the cleanup. They would probably want some time to themselves to reflect or visit a location anyway. I trooped up to my room and laid my bag out. Everything felt so familiar and welcoming, like I never had left. Sensing a sort of routine, I snatched up my blanket to use as a shawl. Might as well. This would probably be the last time to meet them like this. Ilmari was settled by one of the apple trees, its orange leaves visible even in the dark. Instead of waiting for me to sit down, he got up eagerly and approached me. Thank you for coming to see me. I wasn't sure if I should bother you at your house. I wouldn't have minded, soaking in the scenery one last time. Yeah, I love it here. I'm not sure when I'll be allowed to visit another Heavenkind town again. I couldn't hide my dejected expression, and Ilmari fidgeted anxiously. Without warning, Ilmari embraced me tightly. I'm really going to miss you. I wanted this journey to go on forever. Same here, Ilmari. How long will you be gone for? You'll be allowed to visit at least, right? I'll do everything I can. I'm going to see if I can encourage writing and recording in Dragonkind culture. It'll probably lessen the roles of Knowledge Keeper somewhat, but then it'll allow us more freedom. We let go, his hands clutching at my shoulders. Ilmari, it sounds like you're going to change the system. It won't happen overnight, of course, but I'll be sure to promote more Heavenkind and Dragonkind interaction. If you keep up your reading lessons, I promise I'll write letters to you. I'm not even sure how they'll arrive to where you are. I'm guessing you don't have an address. An address? His lips quivered and he hugged me again. This is so unfair. You still have so much to teach me about Heavenkind, about you. I know. Believe me, I feel the same way. I rubbed his back comfortingly, letting my fingers comb through his hair. I devoted my memory to the form of his figure in our embrace. Nothing more needed to be said, and we remained in the hug for a few more minutes. When Ilmari's shoulders stopped trembling and his breathing calmed down, I slowly stepped back, dropping my arms. I really can't thank you enough. Thank you for everything. I'm grateful that I got the chance to join you and Kerr. At least you two will be able to stick together from now on, right? Yeah, but what about you? I'll be fine. I'll keep myself busy. You won't be the only one with your hands full. That reminds me, where is Kerr? I need to say goodnight to him too. I think he's closer to your home. Huh, I thought he'd be further away. He likes the pastry scent that your house has. Figures. We burst out laughing. Remembering the blanket, I draped it around Ilmari. You sure you won't be cold tonight? You could always spend the night indoors. He shook his head, but held the blanket close to his chest. Kerr and I will be fine. I'll see you in the morning, Aurelie. I departed on a high note. Now I just had to find Kerr. Ilmari was right about Kerr loitering near my house. In fact, he was resting against the wall outside as I peered around the corner. Surprise visit! Stealth is my strong point. He arched an unimpressed eyebrow. It wasn't surprising at all. I heard you stomping all over town. I'm not stomping. I was walking normally. I plopped down in front of him, resting on my knees. He sat cross-legged, his hands gripping his ankles. Looking forward to being back to normal tomorrow? I half expected a blunt yes, or a grumbling agreement. Instead, I was answered with an awkward silence. Kerr? He snapped out of his trance. I guess. At least I won't be pathetically weak. Believe me, you are still plenty strong in this form. You'll probably lose your ability to punch, though. Can dragons even do that? I'll be the first one to try it. He made a fist and mimed a fake punch to my forehead, nudging it softly. I giggled. Now it's all coming down to this. I guess I might as well say a few things. Is this another reluctant confession? He left out a sheepish chuckle. More willingly, promise. I wanted to say thanks for everything. I admit I was a pain at first. I probably didn't make it easy for you, right? Right. You didn't have to agree so quickly. I guess I was really quarrelsome. I regret not opening up to you earlier. I feel like I created a lot of unpleasant memories. I punched him lightly in the arm to dissuade his conviction. What are you talking about? I look fondly on them all, even our bickering and petty arguments. I'd like to think we've matured since then, at least a little. Speaking about confessing, there's a small question that has been nagging at me ever since we met. I never asked because I knew you'd get upset. I'd like to think the Kerr now will answer differently. And what's that? Can I touch your ears? His hands met his face and he groaned loudly. Oh, fine, just for a moment. Eee. Still on my knees, I positioned myself so I could lean over better and extend my arms. He glowered at me in disgruntlement, but I ignored his expression as my fingers rubbed the shale-like material. Wow, they really are hard as rock. As I let my fingers graze the grooves and crevices, Kerr's irritation vanished and his eyes lingered downward to my neck. Wondering if I had made him uncomfortable, I let go, but he reached out and enveloped my back with his arms, pulling me close. Kerr? He nuzzled my neck, and I pulled away in surprise. What are you doing? Something I wanted to do when we were on that patrol, before a certain person panicked. Ah, so that was it. Did you seriously think I was going to bite you? Well, you moved so suddenly, and my mind went blank. Necks are vulnerable. When a dragonkind exposes their neck to another, it means I trust you. When you rested your head back, I thought it was a sign, so I requited. Then I pulled away. Talk about mixed signals. Tell me about it. I let out a sheepish giggle to ease my nerves. I apologize. I trust you, Kerr. Gingerly, he lowered his face once again, and I tilted my head to the side in response. He delicately nudged my throat with his nose. He stopped moving, and I could feel his breath on my neck. When I return, I promise to learn how to master that transformation spell. That way I can see you again. I'll have to become a better pupil to Master Bedros, but I think it's about time I took my studies more seriously. Ilmari and I will have to do our best to maintain strong relationships between our races. Never thought I'd be saying something like that in a million years. He pulled away so he could see my face, his hands now cradling my shoulders. Heavenkind aren't so bad. Still small and annoying, though, and ignorant about Ishtera. Are you referring to Heavenkind in general, or just me? Huh, I wonder. We exchanged a quick hug and both stood up. I'll see you in the morning, then. Good night, Kerr. Night. I gave him a small wave and retired for the night, my heart feeling heavy about tomorrow. Sunlight filtered through the curtains. I intuitively rolled over to grab my scabbard, which was propped up on the side of the bed frame. I sat up, clutching the sheath, and chuckled to myself. Old habits die hard. It's not like I'm a knight now. Just as I pondered on whether to retire my weapon to a plaque, my door creaked open. I drew my sword instantly. Kerr's face showed briefly before vanishing behind the door. The heck? Stop doing that! You're supposed to knock before you enter a girl's room. I sighed and sheathed my sword before attaching it to my belt. Then I opened the door. Is this how Heavenkind normally act? It's how I act. Your mom did advise me to knock. If I wasn't awake before, I am now. Couldn't sleep that well? We both exchanged a strained smile. Same here. Had a lot on my mind. Downstairs, my dad was setting breakfast on the table. I heard Ilmari and Mom's voices drifting in from the kitchen. Curious, I moved closer to hear their talk, but Ilmari addressed me before I could even see them. I'd appreciate it if you didn't eavesdrop on this conversation orally. Sorry. I heard my mom laugh, and I decided to respect Ilmari's wish for now. Guess he wasn't happy the first time I did it. I glanced at Kerr, who gazed intently at the floor, and I realized he was able to hear the conversation clearly. I wanted to ask, but instead I poked Kerr's shoulder to get his attention. I'm going for a quick walk. Want to come, or will you stay here? I'll go. Outside, the air was crisp, and there was little activity compared to the first time Kerr and Ilmari visited Barry. After spending all that time in Oliver, I had no idea I would miss my hometown that badly. What will you do when you get back, besides being a good student to Master Bedros? Fight off every dragon who infringed on my territory while I was gone. Why am I not surprised? Kerr's ears perked up, and he turned around. I followed his glance. My home was still within our sight. We spotted Ilmari, who was quickly joining us on our stroll. How was the talk? He mustered an apologetic smile to appease me. About that... Kerr and Ilmari exchanged looks. I told your mom about everything, about what happened with Merchant Ventures. I gasped and waved my arm in disapproval. You did what? I didn't want to cause her any worry. I know. However, your concern is valid. About Argent Valère searching for you after what happened. Your actions were likely reported, and we don't know who the merchant was working for. If we had Ilmari eat him, that would have solved everything. Wait, you wanted me to what? No, that would have made it worse for sure. We were fortunate that no one was seriously hurt from that skirmish. I'd wished we'd handled it better, but the guild was aware of the cargo, so I'd still be treated as a thief. Did this happen because they were ignorant about your ways? Should I notify a council member? I ruffled my hair, feeling my mind getting muddled up. Try not to overthink this. There's too many unanswered questions. I think the best method is to directly talk to one of the wise dragons for now. You've already done so much for us. Let us return the favor. We'll take care of it. You probably won't be much help at this point anyway. Kerr! No, Kerr's right. I don't have much influence, and I'm definitely expelled from the guild. I doubt I could become a knight now anyway. We should have come up with a different plan. If Kerr and I had seized the contents instead of you, you wouldn't have... I wouldn't have minded taking the blame. It's good. There will always be freelance work in Barry, and I can make an honest living as a mercenary. I might talk to Mom about me overseeing more escort missions. And I'll be sure to check their cargo from now on. And you're okay with this? I noted the bitterness in his tone. Huh? Just doing menial tasks after giving up your first dream? You can do better than this, Aura. Well, I'd like to assist you guys, but you said it wouldn't be much help. I only said that because it's true now. I thought you'd try to rise up to the challenge. After everything we've been through, you could be a Heavenkind representative. Do something outside of your mom's name. I folded my arms and mulled over the idea before turning to Ilmari. Is something like that possible? Me being some sort of envoy? Ilmari squirmed under our inquisitive stares. Well, it's viable, but you need to work it to be well versed in Heavenkind history, politics, how the council works, and of course being knowledgeable about Dragonkind. Ah, that sounds rather difficult. Ilmari frantically shook his head. No, I think you can do it. I'll talk to Master Kaya and Master Bedros about it and recommend you. As long as you don't need to write a letter of recommendation or something. Besides, if Kerr wants to help me, he'll have to brush up on his studies too. What? Oh, so by we, it was I'll leave everything to Ilmari? Kerr let out a light cough to hide his chagrin. I'll be more dutiful as a knowledge keeper from now on. My specialty was supposed to be about Heavenkind anyway. Thank you. I'll be counting on you, Kerr, since I'm still not confident I can make rational decisions on my own yet. Anyway, if I can prove to our masters that Aurelie will be a reliable ally, well, it shouldn't be hard with the accounts I'll be reporting. It's something to seriously consider, Aurelie. It'd be a role that'll highly value those knightly virtues, too. Probably a little less sword fighting, though. Even so, I'm sure it'll come in handy if we ever come across another Merchant Ventures episode. But being a representative does seem to demand that I'll have to be more worldly, huh? Maybe I should go on another journey again, to build experience. No. Kerr and I were startled by the outburst, while Amari shook his head pleadingly. Without us? Well, I'm not sure how long you two will be gone. Ilmari clasped my hands tightly, his expression serious. We'll come back soon, I promise. I'll work extra hard and help Kerr with his transformation spell so we can travel again. Ilmari, she can do what she wants. Don't pretend you don't care, Kerr. You did stay longer than what your master originally intended for you. Kerr hastily glanced away. I know this is selfish, but what if you leave and we can't find you? Or you get in trouble with the guild? Or, can you remain in Barry a little longer? You can still study and refine your skills here. You didn't mind churning butter, right? My lips stretched until I couldn't hold in my laughter anymore. Oh, you two. Are you jealous that I'll be going off on some grand adventure without you? It's not like we can't do the same. We've been in Oliver long enough. Ilmari and I would get by competently. You still have a lot to learn about Heavenkind. Hey, I know how to pay for apple tarts. Yeah, because the price was always the same. You never actually learned how to count money, which you would need to travel. And you both still can't read the job posting, so you'd be stuck. You'd never slept in an inn, hired a carriage, read a map, or anything like that. And you two would still run off at the marketplace, distracted by everything. Ilmari sheepishly pressed his fingers together. I've gotten a little better at that. He balked under our dubious stares. I have so. I let out a pretend complacent sigh. Admit it, you two would need me to help you yet again. Besides, would you actually go without me? Their meaningful smiles said it all. Just don't take too long, okay? It's going to be lonely. I promise I'll wait for you two. Promise. We'll be back before you know it. Thanks. We should head back. I don't want you leaving on an empty stomach, and my dad makes the best pancakes. I would encourage you to pack an extra lunch for the road, but your diets will probably be different by then. It's not Heavenkind, right, Kerr? Just the annoying ones. It's not anyone. Aurelie, what other lies did he instill in you about us? I'll sort this out. I chuckled as we headed back, ready to enjoy one more meal together. I present these offerings to pray for a safe trip and... Hey! Kerr snatched one of the apple tarts I'd laid out in front of the dragon altar. What? They're an offering to us dragonkind, so they're obviously mine for the taking. No. That's not how it's supposed to work. I futilely tried to snatch the treat out of his outstretched arm, but he placed a hand on my forehead and held me away. Ilmari appeared and smiled at us in amusement. Nice to see us all energetic. Despite that, there was a despondent edge to his voice, and his smile drooped. He approached the altar after some hesitation, knelt down and put the glass-blown ornament beside the pedestal. Kerr and I immediately stopped our teasing, and I touched Omari's shoulder in concern. You're not taking it with you? No, I think it'll be better if it stayed with you. Kerr and I will be working together, so I want you to have something to remember us by. He gauged the size of the cave. I'll be outside. Kerr needs to be close to the altar to transform back, since his master has to completely remove the curse. Right, meet you outside. I thought about leaving as well, and to give Kerr some space, but I paused when I saw him pick up the discarded walking stick from long ago. He twirled it in his hands, then looked at me. This brings back a lot of memories. He poked me with it, and I shielded myself with my exposed palms. Hey, hit me with that and I'll confiscate it. He laughed and turned it sideways as he presented it to me. I hugged the stick close before propping it against the altar beside Omari's blue ornament. Besides the missing apple tarts, I hoped it was a satisfying offer to the wise dragons. I stepped back, lingering close to the cave wall. Kerr knelt down, then glimpsed my position. You, need to move back. Oh, right. I shuffled back a few paces. Further. Here? No, further. Now you're just messing with me. Have you ever seen an earth dragon before? Just you and your heavenkind size. Which is not an accurate representation, as you'll see in a minute. I practically hugged the cave at the corner, expecting a flash. I shielded my eyes and slightly averted them. I heard some mumbling, but it was too far away to comprehend it. As predicted, Kerr was engulfed in a bright light, which expanded and took shape before materializing into his true form. That's a big dragon. Unlike the lithe and serpent-like water dragon, the earth dragon was bulky with powerful limbs, folded wings, and overlapping armor that ran down its neck from its neck to the end of its tail. It had rock-like juts protruding from its elbows and knees. I gasped and cautiously took a step forward. The ears and the earthly tones reminded me of Kerr, but I understand how fearsome he would appear in his true body. I'd underestimated how fearsome he would appear in his true body. Kerr? He took a step, his large weight causing the cave to tremble. I immediately grasped the wall, not wanting to pitifully kneel down in fear. His large eyes widened, and the next step was more cautious, like a cat getting ready to pounce. I know. Tremors aside, I could still take you on in a fair fight. A proud snort was heard, and his head loomed over me before lowering. I'd like to see you try. His voice was deeper with a natural growl to it, but it was definitely Kerr. Kerr nudged me with his snout, and I took an unstable step back. Easy there. Sadly, we can't wrestle on the grass playfully anymore. Come on, Ilmari's waiting. He's got the dragon sprite as opposed to just... Okay. All ready to go? Yeah, I'll see you two off as well. It'll be a nice walk until we reach the river. Kerr, why don't you give us a ride? Kerr flapped his wings indignantly. Aura, your teasing is rubbing off on him. I was actually thinking the exact same thing. Can you fly me at least, please? He folded the wings and grumbled, expanding a claw in the dirt. Unless there's a mountaintop I can glide off of, my wings are pretty much useless. I gave Kerr a blank stare as I slowly registered the news and couldn't hide my disappointment. Aww. What do you expect from an earth dragon? That's like expecting Ilmari to walk on land. Hey, at least I can move around in this form. You, on the other hand... I started laughing. At first it was simply a giggle, but it soon grew into a full chuckle. I don't think it was purely from their antics, as I realized that my eyes were moist and I blinked it away. I'm really gonna miss this. I wanted to ask them to stay, question whether they really had to go back, but I knew it was hard for them too. When we reached the river, Ilmari took a few reluctant steps forward before he twirled around and hugged me close. Thank you for everything, Aurelie. I promise we'll see you again. I'll help train Kerr so he can transform on his own as well. Is it a difficult spell? Ilmari sighed loudly, explained everything, and eyed Kerr warily. We dropped our arms and parted from our embrace. It'll take time. For now, we have to explain the full situation to our masters, which will definitely strain the relationships between Dragonkind and Heavenkind. Kerr hissed and fluttered his wings. What a hassle. But it's something they should be made aware of now, before the situation potentially gets worse, or else there will be real tensions to worry about. Yeah, that makes sense. I jabbed my chest with the thumb. I'll be busy providing services to traveling merchants passing through Barry for now. I'll make sure all shipments going in and out are verified. Not as glamorous as knighthood, but I think it's important. I'll definitely consider that representative role too. Now get going, we're obviously stalling. I backed away, giving Ilmari some room. The mist enveloped him, and a large shape stretched and loomed before me, followed by a splash. When the fog had evaporated, Ilmari's neck and head were still visible from above the water. A thought occurred to me, and I motioned for Kerr to lower his ears. Hey Kerr, do me a favor. I reached up and patted his muzzle. Give Ilmari his beach back. His nostrils flared, and he made a small jerking motion with his head that resembled a nod. Good. If you do, I promise to visit you both. Somehow. Like a puppy demanding attention, Ilmari nudged my shoulder with his snout until I turned and patted it as well. Play nice, you two. We'll be fine. Take care, Orly. Satisfied, Ilmari retreated into the river while Kerr began walking upstream. I was surprised Kerr didn't vocalize a goodbye. However, he glanced back momentarily, and I smiled myself. He didn't handle partings that well. Take care! Kerr, Ilmari! I fought the urge to run along with them, and instead waved at them fervently until they disappeared from sight. Knowing I would break down sobbing if I continued to stand there, I returned to the cave. I smiled wistfully as I picked up the glass ornament and the crude walking stick. Once I had arranged them in front of the dragon statue, I made a prayer to the altar. I'm not sure if this communication works between anyone or just between dragonkind. I should have asked. How silly of me. But, please take care of those two for me. They're both important to me, and they'll be lonely without them. I have a feeling they'll be preoccupied with a lot of things before we can see each other again. Satisfied with my conclusion, I sauntered outside of the altar with Ilmari's gift in my bag and Kerr's walking stick in my hand. The vivid redness of autumn had died, replaced by bare trees and a noticeable nip in the air. The heaviness I had felt in my heart disappeared, replaced instead by a strong optimism. I knew I would see Kerr and Ilmari again, but for now, I have to finish my patrol first. Never thought I'd miss those. Concept by Deji and Felipe Morano. Felipe? Aww. Character art and CGs by Deji. Chibi art by Nelly. He's got some long-ass hair. GUI by Deji and Nelly. Aww. Backgrounds by S. Morishita, Deji, Jan, and Nelly. Dragons. Other art assets by 123RF, E Down EU, Free Pick, Shutterstock, something else. Script by Kitty Catstar. Coding and editing by Arowana. That's adorable. Voice acting by Michelle Rojas, Tim Morris, and Penny S. Smith. Ending song is Thank You by Jason Chen, produced by Smash Hitta. Alrighty then. Other music by Celestial Aeon Project, John Babb, music materials, Sir Guy can't read fast enough. Sound effects by Blade Engine, freesound.org, Stroker Sounds, Onjin, Sound Bible, and SoundJ. Dragon voice effects by Jesu Otaku. Aww, look at the cutie pies. Special thanks to Renby. Aww. It's all so cute. Right, so that was Autumn's Journey. I really enjoyed the journey. I thought it was a very well written, very beautiful, and just altogether well done story. So, I hope you enjoyed it, because I really did. Thank you for watching. I love you. Bye-bye.